Welcome into the Atlanta Football Party. I am your host, Jarvis Davis, and the Atlanta Football Party is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Sitting right here next to me, I have my main man, Ross Jackson of Locked On Saints. As you all know, it's going down on Sunday at Mercedes Benz Stadium at 1 o'clock. They're going to have the pregame going on, Ross. I'm saying, you know,
Ooh, I'm saying.
50
yes.
year hip-hop anniversary. It is about to be a straight-up party, but they're just really doing that so everybody be in their seats by 1 o'clock, you know.
That's true. That's true. And I as long as Three Stacks doesn't show up playing the flute, man, I'm not about it. I'm not about it, bro. I'm sorry. I've been waiting forever for that album. I'm not about it.
Hey, man, look, I'm glad that you brought that up because, like, Three Stacks is a dude that I have obviously looked up, growing up in Atlanta, man. Like, I looked 100%. Up to that dude tremendously, and just from being able to put content out there on a daily basis, I kind of get where he's coming from as far as like just being able to, you know, just be and like it has to feel right in order for him to put it out there. So I get that. But yeah, man, like it took me a minute to kind of like, okay, all right, I need to be doing something very relaxing in order to listen to this. This is not a spa type situation, but it won't be a spa type situation in Mercedes Benz at 1 o'clock because we all know how much these two teams hate each other. We know Cameron Jordan loves touching on a lot of red and black quarterbacks, you know what I'm saying? Red and black colors on. But I want to start there at the quarterback position because, like, I know the Falcons are preparing for, you know, Jameis Winston, Derek Carr, and Taysom Hill. But who do you think gets the majority of the snaps or all of the snaps on Sunday once this thing kicks off?
No, I think this is going to be a Derek Carr-led team. He's technically still in concussion protocol, but that's because they haven't reported for many practices yet so far this week ahead of that matchup. So in order for him to progress through there, he's got to be able to show certain things that hit certain benchmarks in practice. So hard to progress throughout concussion protocol until you're able to do that. But the expectation is that he'll be cleared and that he will be the starter, Derek Carr, for the New Orleans Saints at quarterback. But expect a lot of Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill's had 12 games against the Atlanta Falcons. He has found a lot of success against that team as well, whether in Atlanta or otherwise. So I would expect Taysom Hill to still continue to be a big part of the game plan, even with Derek Carr getting the starting reps.
I'm sure Nielsen is definitely reiterating that on a daily basis as we lead up to this game. But I want to kind of talk about, you know, like the injury bug. It seems like the Saints have been hit with that as of late. We just found out that Michael Thomas is going to IR. Yep. And also, Marshon Lattimore had dealing with some injuries as well before they went on the bye week. Like, what's the update on Michael Thomas? I know he's going to IR, but what's kind of like the outlook for him kind of going forward? Because it seemed like he's just been dealing with a lot. And then also Marshon Lattimore, like, how does he look for his perspective for the game as well?
Yeah, the Saints and Vikings 2 weekends ago now did their best impression of a body bag game. I mean, every play, it felt like there was some kind of injury. And of course, Michael Thomas, Marshon Lattimore, Derek Carr were the three big sort of exits for the New Orleans Saints. This Michael Thomas injury is going to lead to him being out for 4 games, but he's expected to be back this season. That's the expectation. Dennis Allen, the New Orleans Saints head coach, has been adamant that he does not expect this to be a season-ending injury. Everything that we've heard since the announcement that Michael Thomas is going to be put on injured reserve seems to back that up. This isn't an injury, though, that you look at and you go, oh, man, Michael Thomas just can't stay healthy. The guy took a helmet to the knee. And Jarvis, you know better than anybody, sometimes it just bees like that. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. And so, you know, it's an unfortunate situation. But look, Michael Thomas played 10 games in the previous 3 seasons. He was there and available for the Saints for all 10 games so far this season. He's on the right track, and I don't think that this injury ends up sidelining him at all. Not sidelining him, but sidetracking that at all. And, you know, he's got another year on his deal left. It's very incentive heavy next year in 2024 with roster bonuses, per game active bonuses and incentives and things like that. It's very unlikely that he hits any of his production incentives from this season now that he'll be missing those 4 games. But I would expect Michael Thomas to very likely still be a New Orleans Saint in 2024 and very likely finish the season here in 2023 on the field. And that opportunity becomes more and more apt if they make the playoffs, we'll see if the New Orleans Saints find a way to make the playoffs. One of these NFC South teams has to do it, Jarvis. We'll see which one it is. One of y'all got to go, so eventually we'll figure out who that is. But yeah, I think that's I mean, Michael Thomas was such a big part of the week 1 victory last year and the come from behind victory in Atlanta. Now he's not going to be on the field. So what does that mean? That means a lot more Chris Olave, a lot more Rashid Shaheed, a lot more A.T. Perry, and of course, a lot more of that passing game going to guys like Taysom Hill, tight ends, Alvin Kamara out of the backfield, all that. Marshawn Lattimore, we haven't gotten a full update on him yet, but it was an ankle injury. He was carted off. He was not moved to injured reserve. So that could mean that the Saints expect him back within 4 games. I wouldn't expect him to be on the field this weekend. Derek Carr, we highlighted, the expectation is that he'll be back on the field this weekend against the Atlanta Falcons.
Absolutely. And you brought up Dennis Allen. What has been your assessment as the full halfway point in a 17-game season? Like, what has been your assessment of Dennis Allen as a head coach in his first year?
Yeah, I was feeling a lot better about everything Dennis Allen specific up until the most recent, maybe 4 or so games where that defense has come out flat-footed, has come out flat as a whole early on in games, has surrendered. I think it's 3 different touchdowns on opening drives over the course of the past 4 games that they've played. Just a lot of stuff that you're not used to seeing from the New Orleans Saints defense. Early on in the season, it was an offensive issue. Now it's become a defensive issue. So if they can right the ship over on the defensive side, I think more than likely Dennis Allen's job is safe, secure, all of that. I think the big thing that they'll be looking at this offseason is how they address and improve their offense moving forward.
Now, does that involve Pete Carmichael?
I think the key would be not involving Pete Carmichael. I think that's the thing that would lead to that. I think that's where you look at the biggest change potentially awaiting the New Orleans Saints in 2024. Last year, they weren't going to be able to get an offensive coordinator. They had a head coach that nobody was really sure of after just 1 year. And his previous stint with the Raiders wasn't super successful. You had no quarterback on the roster at that point. Nobody knew exactly what was going to happen with Jameis Winston. You can't sell people on the idea, hey, we want to go and get Derek Carr. That doesn't mean anything. Alvin Kamara was potentially facing a 6-game suspension at that time. Nobody knew if Michael Thomas was going to be back. So the Saints didn't have anything to attract an offensive coordinator. I think that's a different story going into 2024. So I expect that they'll take advantage of that.
Absolutely. And now I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure you're probably on the same page because you mentioned the NFC South earlier. Coming into the season, everybody in this conference, you could have made a case for winning the division, right? From the Carolina Panthers, and they're spending all that money on their coaching staff and drafting Bryce Young, and then Baker Mayfield, reclamation project seemed like he's a reclamation project every year. Yeah. And then with the Saints, the Saints just being pretty consistent as far as being a contender for to win this division, and then the Falcons spending all the money on defense and bringing in Desmond Ridder, making him the guy, bringing in Bijan Robinson and all this stuff. But just looking at his division now, currently, did you think it was going to be this bad?
Man, listen, I thought it was going to be bad. I thought that the Saints were probably going to be about 5-5, maybe 6-4 at the best at this point through the first 10 games. I didn't expect the Saints to be in first place, though. I thought that there was going to be at least one winning record holding on to first place through the first 10 games. And right now we're not seeing that. It's a 500 record, 5-5 that's got it. This NFC South division is bad, just like we expected it to be as a collective. But maybe a little bit worse than we might have anticipated for sure. And that's just what it is, right? Like that's what this division is right now. And now you get into the back stretch of this season for all these NFC South teams where their only job remaining basically is to cannibalize one another. So it's either going to get really, really competitive, or it's going to somehow get much, much worse. And we'll see which one. Let's just hope that we avoid any ties in this division because ain't nobody got time for that.
Yeah, nobody want to see anything like. And as far as the cannibalization of the NFC South, how do you see this one playing out on Sunday, man?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm going to kind of lean toward the Saints here. I think that this is a team that's been able to find success as long as they don't shoot themselves in the foot. For me, this is a game that the Saints either win or lose. Desmond Ridder, this Atlanta Falcons team, has been able to do some really nice things, but they're turnover prone. The Saints are all of a sudden a complete reverse from what they were last year. They're a defense that loves to take the ball away. But the big key thing is, can the Saints score off of turnovers? They're 5-0 when they score off of turnovers. They're 0-5 when they either cause no turnovers or don't score off of turnovers. If they can get that done, then it puts them in position. But I got to tell you, I could see this game going either way, and I'm not putting a lot of confidence in the New Orleans Saints. I think they just might have the edge. With both these teams coming off of the bye week, I think that it's a good setup for either one of these teams to walk away with a W this weekend.
Yeah, man. Like it's definitely a toss up in my eyes because like the Falcons haven't been able to protect the quarterback like you thought they would, because they had one of the better offensive lines as far as specifically running the football last year. You think they were going to be able to build on that, but it just hasn't worked out that way. So more than likely, probably looking at maybe Cameron Jordan having a couple sacks on the game and stuff like that. I don't know, but I do think that Desmond Ridder got a little juice behind him because hey, he got named the starter over the weekend, so you won't have to worry about leading up to Wednesday for the coach to announce and all that stuff. They went on ahead and got it out the way. So I think right now, this is probably going to be it's a toss-up, but like you said, I can't even expect the Falcons to win at this point.
Yeah, it's tough, man. It's very, very tough. And it gets even more challenging when you look at things like pressure rate for Desmond Ridder, second highest pressured, like most often pressured quarterback in terms of percentages. Pressure to sack ratios up there as well. I mean, this guy is just one of those dudes where if you get the pressure on him, then all of a sudden he starts to make mistakes. He takes the sacks, the turnovers come in droves, things like that. But the Saints haven't been very successful getting pressure either. So one of these teams is going to get right in the pressure department. Either the defense for the Saints is going to get their pressure, or the offense for the Atlanta Falcons is going to be able to avoid it. And that might be the other big key in this one. Yeah,
it's definitely going to boil down to, can the team, who can protect their quarterback better? Because we know, given time, Ridder has proved that he can do a little something.
100%.
Just got to be safe with it, So, and I think Derek Carr can do the same as well. So, Ross, man, I appreciate you joining me from, the backwoods of Arkansas.
Arkansas, yeah, coming at you.
Yeah, man, enjoy your holiday, man, and I appreciate you coming on and joining us right here on Locked On Sports Atlanta.
Thank you, homie. Appreciate you. See you in Atlanta.
Absolutely. We will be down there, and I will be there early because I got to catch the concert, man. Got to see what's going down on the thing. And we thank you guys for joining us, as always, on Locked On Sports Atlanta. Our everydayers, we appreciate you. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel each and every day.